This is a steel plate, and we're going to join this at 90 degrees. So this joint is called a T-joint. And the weld that we're going to put in this T-joint is called a fillet weld. I've been here at CMU for the past 20 years.
And how long
exactly? January 5th, 2004.
And how long have you been a welder?
I've been a welder since 1975 when I went to the trade training school, which was located at Pepin at the time. It was Pepin Industrial Trade Training Center. That's where I started my welding program. I also did evening school in welding at St. Andrew Technical High School. And I've continued welding with training in Korea and welding engineering in Japan.
Okay.
I also did the instructor training program at the VTDI, Vocational Training Development Institute. And I've been teaching welding since 1983.
And so you mentioned that you studied in Japan and Korea. What are the differences compared to what you learned in Jamaica?
I did the processes here, different welding processes like gas metal arc welding, shielded metal arc welding, gas tungsten arc welding, acetylene welding. But in Korea, I did more testing of welding along with more welding. So I learned how to do the testing of welds. So X-ray testing, microscopic testing, tensile testing, bend tests for welds, just to determine the quality of the weld.
Okay. And what motivated you to choose that career path?
Actually, my first choice was auto mechanics, but welding was my second choice. And because I was not able to get into auto mechanic as my first choice, I chose welding, which was available as my second choice. And I've been loving it since.
What does being a welder entail? What do you do on a daily basis?
All right, the job of a welder is to either cut, join, bend, or weld metals. Essentially, we are using heat as a source, and it's a joining method. So it is more efficient than using nut and bolts or rivets. So it's considered a permanent joint. So the welder will learn about the metals that they're using, different joints for the load that the member is to carry, and different welding processes to produce that weld. So after we tack, we chip the slag and we make sure our joint is free of any impediments. A wire brush is an essential tool to clean off any rust that is on the machine before we weld. Right. Welding is like surgery. If it's not clean, then you have contamination in your material. We try to remove the extra contamination that the electrode will be able to do the rest of cleaning.
And what are some of the dangers involved in this job?
Welding, like any other trade or occupation, has its fair share of hazards. But there are a lot of safety precautions. If we adhere to them, we normally can fulfill a long, healthy life in welding. There are dangers in terms of shock. We are using electrical equipment. Burns, we are using a flame which is about 3,000 odd degrees C. We are using gases which are explosive. We are welding materials. Some of them will produce toxic fumes and gases. And the rays that come off the arc are very bright, so we have to protect our eyes. And generally, we have to make sure that our environment is healthy in terms of the air that we breathe. So ventilation is a vital part of what we do.
Have you ever had any accidents while working?
I have been flashed, as they say. My eyes was exposed to the arc, but that's a major accident that I've had. And flashes are common occurrence for welders.
Okay, so you've never been burned, anything like that?
Nothing of consequence. I mean, you get a little spark dropping here and there, but that's about it. We normally protect ourselves, so we reduce the risk of those kind of accidents.
What do you enjoy most about your job?
Well, now that I am teaching, I like to see my students performing in their job, and the persons that employ them are satisfied with their performance.
Would you like to see more Jamaicans coming into this profession? Do you think that enough men as well as women are choosing to be welders, or do you see a decrease over time?
I believe we have a steady stream of new students in the welding program, although I believe we have a reduction because some of the training centers that used to train welders don't train welders anymore. But it's also as a result of our industries. We don't have a large welding industry in the country, but I believe the students that enter the training program are sufficient to fill the needs that the industry requires nowadays.